Hey guys, so this is like take 4 for today. Had some issues. Hopefully this will be the fourth time's a charm. It is Wednesday the 6th. Good Shakespearean insult today. If you have tears, prepare to shed them now. Kind of tough, right? That comes from Julius Caesar. You guys should not have any tears to shed. If you're doing what you should be doing, you should be in good shape. And most of you have, right? And I know some of you might be thinking like the grades don't matter right now. What am I doing this for? Trust me, man. As somebody who's experienced a little bit more life than you guys have, or a lot more, the hard work does pay off. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. I dig it. And sometimes life is tough, but nothing worth having comes without some kind of fight. And I think those of you who have continued to put up the good effort, when this is all done, or when we've reached our new normal, whatever that may be in the future, I think you'll be happy that you put in the work that you have been putting in. And those of you who haven't, I think you are going to regret it. I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad, but those of you who haven't been putting in the work, I don't think you're going to watch this anyway. All right, so let's get to it. I'm going to go through and I'm going to post this right away. So hopefully it'll be posted by later this afternoon. It's 4:13, so hopefully your assignments just came in, or they're still coming in. Again, I'm not going to go nuts about a couple hours here or there as far as the due dates or due times. I'm going to go through the assignment that was due today. I think this is assignment 23, the 2 free response questions from 2012. At the end of this, I'm going to just go through very briefly a breakdown of the types, categories, I guess that's the best way to say it, of free response questions from the last 8 or 9 years, from 2012 up until last year, just so you get a general idea of what they focus more on and what you might want to focus more on as far as reviewing, allocate more of your time towards, and kind of what to expect. Even though this year is pretty new and probably going to be unlike any other. So we'll do that at the end. All right, so your first question was a marginal analysis question, which we haven't done in the recent past. So here you go. You got this girl, I think her name's Teresa. You got your quantity of bagels, you got your marginal utility from each bagel, and she, in this instance, we're only talking about the budget that she allocates towards her bagels and her toy cars, right? Only two things we're worried about in Teresa's life. The first question says the table above shows Teresa's marginal utility. Blah, blah. What is her total utility from the purchasing of 3 toy cars? Okay, you gotta show your work though. Doesn't say it here, but I'm pretty sure on the scoring guidelines it says that it wants to see your work. Okay, so we're only worried about cars. Now be very clear, especially this year when you're uploading and cutting and pasting, that you're answering question 1, part A, part 1A, whatever that is, right? And show your work. So this one should be pretty straightforward. Remember, marginal is just the next one. So that first toy car gives her 10 utils of utility, enjoyment, pleasure, happiness, whatever. The second toy car, 8 utils, just not as much, because it's cool to have another toy car, but it's not as fun as having that first one. And then that third toy car gives her 6 more. So we go 10 from the first car, 8 from the second car, 6 from the third car, add them up, and you got 24 utils of total utility. See that? From when you purchase 3 cars. 10 and 8 and 6 equals 24. That's total utils from purchasing 3 cars. Now, the second one is the one that's a touch tricky. This is still A and it's II, and here they definitely say that they want to see your work. Now, they tell you that she's got $11 to spend. Okay, that's the part of her budget that she's allocating to these 2 goods. I hope it's not her whole budget. Um, so what? Basically, it's a long-winded way of asking you what her optimal consumption bundle is. All right, what combination of these two items is going to give her the maximum utility while maxing out her budget? Okay, so in this case, you want to remember a couple things. Actually, I'm going to erase this just to make sure you're able to see. Okay, so let's put the important information on the side. She's got $11 to spend. The toy cars cost her $1 a piece, and the bagels cost $2 a piece. All right. So here, really what we're talking about is the marginal utility per dollar spent. We want the marginal utility per dollar spent to be equal. All right, that's what we're looking for. So let's just put that up here for you real quick. We want the marginal utility of each bagel per dollar spent on each bagel, which is the price of each bagel, right, to be equal to the marginal utility of the toy car being equal to the price of that toy car per dollar spent on the toy car. All right, we want those to be equal. Well, we said we can inverse this or flip this or whatever you math people use and say what that's really saying is that we want the price of the bagel compared to the price of the toy car. Sorry. Price of the bagel compared to the price of the toy car, all right, to be equal to the marginal benefit from that bagel compared to the marginal benefit of the toy car. Right, so that's what we're looking for, where that's equal. And we have to make sure that that is happening where you're maximizing and spending all $11, not $1 more or $1 less. Okay? So take a mental picture of that in your head, and that's what we're going to look for. So if bagels cost twice as much as toy cars, we want to find a situation where the marginal utility of that next bagel is twice as much as the marginal utility of that next car. And we want to make sure that that's happening where you're also spending all $11. So let's start. One bagel gives me 8 utils of marginal utility. So where am I getting only 4 utils from the car? Is here at 4. Okay, all right, so if I buy one bagel and 4 cars, that satisfies everything, right? I got twice as much marginal utility from the bagel as I do the car. My marginal utility per dollar spent of the bagel, marginal utility per dollar spent on the bagel equals 4. I gotta take a drink, sorry, I got something in my throat. And my marginal utility from the car per dollar spent on the car equals 4. My marginal utility per dollar spent on each of the last items is equal. What's the problem? Why is this not the answer? It's not the answer because when I buy one car, what does this cost me? One bagel, it's costing me $2. And when I buy the 4 cars, it's costing me $4. 4 and 2 equals 6, and that is not 11. Right, so that's not our optimal consumption bundle. She could have been spending a lot more. She should have been. Okay, so we have to find another situation. Okay, 7, anything 3.5? Nope. So let's keep going. 6, anything 3? Yes. All right, so if she gets 3 bagels and 5 cars, that also satisfies our rule because the marginal utility of that third bagel is 6. Cost her $2, so the marginal utility per dollar spent equals 3. When she buys that 5th car, her marginal utility per dollar spent is 3. Cost her $1 each time equals 3. Does that maximize her budget? Well, the third bagel cost her $2 each. $6. The 5th car Costs her $5 in total. Sorry, 5 plus 6 equals 11. Bingo. There's our answer. She wants to be buying 5 toy cars, 3 bagels. The margin of utility is twice as much, and 5 times 1 is 5, 3 times 2 is 6, 6 and 5 is 11. She's maximizing her budget. That's where she should be at. All right. Just take it a step further. Okay. You're gonna have time. Look, we're at 10 minutes, and this might be a question you get like 25 minutes for. All right. So double check just in case. If you were thinking maybe, wait a second, 4 and 2, 4 utils per dollar spent equals 2, and 2 utils per dollar spent equals 2. Hey, I got margin of utility per dollar spent, it's equal. Well, what's the problem, right? If you purchased 5 bagels, it cost you $10. And if you purchased 6 cars, it cost you $6. Well, 10 and 6 equals 16, and that's a little bit more than your $11 that you have allocated to these things. So therefore you're over. All right. And just quick side note with this, remember, whatever's giving, they could give you this also, whatever you purchase that's giving you a higher marginal utility per dollar spent, do more of it. That doesn't always make sense if you don't really understand all of this, but the idea is it's giving you more marginal utility per dollar spent. So if you do more of it, you're going to get less satisfaction. Okay. Law of diminishing marginal utility. The next bagel, the next toy car, it's just not as tasty, it's just not as fun as the first one, as the previous one. So if something's giving you more marginal utility per dollar spent, do more of it. It brings the marginal utility for that down. And obviously you're allocating those funds to the other thing. It's going to bring the marginal utility of that up, and then they'll be equal. Okay. So for this one, and now again, guys, I haven't looked at all the sample responses and the scoring notes on those. I just looked at how they set up their scoring key, or scoring guidelines or whatever. So this one actually just said, and I'm sure some of you looked at this because I think it's all out there. The College Board is basically throwing up their arms and giving you everything they can give you for this exam, for this year. As long as you said that that's the optimal consumption bundle because the marginal utility per dollar spent is equal when you purchase that combination, I think they were going to give you the credit. So if you have no idea, guess a pair of a combination, I should say, of numbers, of items, and say that you think that that's right because marginal utility per dollar spent for each item is correct. Who knows? Maybe you get lucky and you get the point. At least you're showing them that you understand that that's what you were looking for. Maybe you got it wrong, but if you show that you knew what to look for, you just didn't find it, or you found the wrong one, whatever, maybe you still get the credit for it, But you had to say that, even if you didn't show all the calculations, you had to show or say that you were looking for where marginal utility per dollar spent was equal. Okay, so a little more here. Assume that the price of wheat, an input for the production of bagels, increases. Will Teresa's demand for bagels increase, decrease, or not change? Right, so for this, I'm not exactly sure how they would have graded this, guys. I'm sorry. I just want to sketch this for you real quick. Demand, supply. So when I first read this, I said, no, you tried to trick me. It's not going to change her demand. She wants bagels, or desires bagels, demands bagels, just as much as she did before. What's going to change is the price of the bagel, and that's going to change. The price of the bagel is going to go up, and so therefore she's going to demand a quantity demanded a little bit less. Her curve stays exactly the same, right? She wants bagels just as badly as she did before. She's just not going to purchase as many because the price went up a little bit, all right? That's what I put when I was answering this question before I looked at the scoring key. They said that they wanted to hear, which is also true, that it's not going to impact their demand. What's it going to impact, guys? We know it's an input. It shifts supply. It's going to impact supply. It's not going to impact demand. Now, to me, yeah, that impacts supply. And what happens when you shift supply left is you pull, it's a movement up the demand curve. All right. So I would really hope if this was me taking it or you taking it and you said it will not impact demand, that should be enough. And explaining that it will not impact demand, it will impact quantity demanded. It's really showing you know your stuff, and they damn well better give you the credit for that. But again, it's College Board, and I hate them, and they hate me, and it's all good. And you know they're just an evil corporation. But let them come after me, by the way. Bring it on, College Board. Um, be careful, cover your butt, and probably add in that it shifts supply, and by shifting supply, it makes a movement up the demand curve, and it decreases quantity demanded. And then the last part's about elasticity. Right, this shouldn't be bad. This year you can have that cheat sheet I just sent you in front of you with the formulas and what a negative or positive this elasticity means versus that elasticity. So it says, suppose that Teresa's income elasticity for bagels is negative 0.2. As soon as you see that, you're done, right? If it's income elasticity and it's negative, bam, automatically it's inferior. That's it. No calculation. You don't have to do any calculation there. You just need to know that. And why is that? Go back to the formula, right? Income elasticity. When we're talking about elasticity, anything that is having to do with money, price or income, right? That goes on the bottom, right? And so if they're telling you that the income, did they tell you on this? Hold on a second. No, it doesn't. It doesn't tell you. But regardless, the income and then the quantity demand here, right? If one's going one way and the other's going the other way, why would that be? Right? If your income went down and you demanded more of this thing, why would it be? Because it's an inferior good. Now let's do it the other way. Quantity demanded versus income. If your income went up and the quantity demanded goes down, why would that be? Again, because it's an inferior good. I don't have to buy that garbage anymore. I can buy something better. Okay? All right, so the fact that it's negative, automatically it's got to be an inferior good. All right, that should be a, don't even think about it. Let's go. And the last one for this question, suppose that the price of toy cars increases by 10%. So again, if we're talking price, money, income, the cash goes on the bottom. And they're saying this goes up by 10%. Teresa buys 5% fewer toy cars. Distractor, forget it. It's not what's important here. And 4% less of a different toy. Toy blocks, or a different thing, toy blocks. Calculate the cross price elasticity. So it's not the cars, now it's the blocks. And they just want to know, is it positive or negative, right? Well, they're telling you, right? 4% less. Okay, so if the price of one thing goes up and this other item you demand 4% less of, again, do the math. You know, it's one's going down, one's coming up, so that's negative, and you'll have a calculator, which I would need for this one, unfortunately, and it's 0.4. But the important part is that it's negative. One goes down, one goes up. Why? Don't ask you this, but you should know it. If the price of one thing gets more expensive, and then I buy less of this other thing, why is that? Because I must use them in tandem, right? The price of what was it? The toy cars got more expensive. So, you know what? I'm not going to buy as many toy blocks because I use my toy blocks and my cars at the same time. So these are complements. Okay, and we set up here an inferior good. All right. So inferior versus normal, that has to do with income, elasticity of demand, IED, and um, and complements and substitutes is about cross price elasticity. Right? So IED, income elasticity, is about inferior versus normal, and cross price elasticity is about complements versus substitutes. Okay, in my choosy way again, right? As I said, it's weird that usually if you get a compliment, it's not negative. Easier way, I say, a lot of people will think it's a positive thing. Yes, we have a substitute today, right? Think about all those subs, man. I don't know what they've been doing. It's tough times. Am I allowed to call in sick during distance learning? I don't know. Don't really do too much of that anyway. IED is about inferior versus normal, and that just makes sense. Negative, inferior, usually that kind of goes together, right? If something's negative, it's inferior, and if it's normal, whatever, normal to be positive. All right, so that's the first one. I'm going to pause and set up the graph for the second one, and I'll see you in a few seconds. All right, hey, we're back. I hope that, I guess you can see that. Good enough. Green's not the best color here. All right, here's the second one. Now this one again, you might have been like, tariffs. Oh my God, we never really talked about tariffs. Tariffs are tax, and if you just use what you know, what you're capable of, I think you could have worked your way through this. And hey, now we're covering it, and if you see it, you'll be all right. All right. So the first question, they're talking about the domestic supply and the domestic demand of sugar in wherever this place is, Laurel Land. So at the world price of $2 a pound, how much sugar is Laurel Land importing? Okay, so here we go. If the world price is $2, what is the demand in this country? 14 million, whatever it is, right? But as domestic suppliers at that lower price, they're only willing to supply 2 million. So if they want 14 million and they're domestically only getting supplied 2 million, well, what does that mean? Again, let's make it really clear what we're answering. Let's do number 3, part A. And I don't think this one said show your work. Couldn't hurt. Again, College Board, you never know what they're going to be picky about. They want 14. Domestically, they're only getting 2. So they want 14. Domestically, they're only getting 2. They're going to have to import the other part. So they're going to have to import 12 million pounds of sugar. It's a lot of sugar. So that's it. Right? Don't freak yourself out. Think about it logically. Work your way through it. Part B, B1, says that suppose that Laurel Land imposes a per unit tariff on sugar imports, and the new domestic price, including the tariff, is 4. So if the new price is 4, including the tariff, and the old price was 2, how much was that tariff? $2, right? Price was 2, now the price is 4, including the tariff. Had to be a $2 tariff. The new level of domestic production. Well, now, if the sugar people are getting 4, now they're more willing to supply, and they're going to supply 6. And that's just the answer. No calculations necessary. They're going to supply 6 million pounds of the sugar. Domestic consumer surplus, you must show your work. Okay, so domestic consumer surplus. This is a touch trickier. Okay, domestically, now what are the people getting? Well, they're getting the 6 mil, right, that they're getting from their domestic suppliers, but they're still importing. They're just importing and paying a little bit of a higher price. Okay, so classic consumer surplus, below demand, above price. Price is now 4, right? So it's from 9 to 4, and how much are they getting domestically plus importing, all the way to 10. So it's all the blue, right? Show your work. 9 down to 4 times 0 to 10, half, this is a triangle, so that's 5 times 10 is 50, over 2 is 25. Okay, so the consumer surplus is 25. Okay, because they're going to buy, again, 6 million from the domestic suppliers, another 4 million from the foreign suppliers, right? And they're going to get that entire blue triangle of consumer surplus. The total tariff revenue. Okay, so the total tariff revenue. Well, I told you a second ago, or we figured out a second ago, that the tariff itself, if this was your original price, and now here's my new price, the difference has to be the tariff, right? It's a tax. So you knew this stuff. We did taxes, and we'll review it more, but don't freak out. Tariff is a tax. So it's a $2 tariff, and how many times? We kind of said this a second ago, too. How much do they have to import? Well, domestically, they're going to supply 6. They want 10 at that price, the people, right? So they have to import the difference between 6 million and 10 million, and that is a difference of 4 million. And those 4 million cost them $2 a pop. So 4 times 2 equals 8. And again, your numbers might get a little crazier here because they know you have a calculator this year, but that's it. They got to import 4 million pounds, $2 a pop, $8 million bucks. Sure. That was 0.3. 25, 8 mil. Okay, what's next? Given the world price of $2, this is the one that's a little annoying. Given the world price of $2, I'm hoping that's just somebody dropping something off. Hold on a second. Okay, yes, it was just the UPS man, so don't worry. Okay, so the last part is a little annoying. They say, given the price of $2, what per unit tariff maximizes the sum of Laura Land's domestic consumer surplus and producer surplus? So I was looking at different triangles here and like, wait a second, how much of a tariff would be the best? Don't forget, man, government intervention is not going to help anything. So what's the best tariff? No tariff, a tariff of 0, right? Because even though it seems like it ain't that great of a situation, originally, what was the case for the domestic suppliers? Here's price, below price, above supply. So there's their producer surplus. Not a big triangle, right? But that's still the best they're going to get. Government intervention is just going to screw it up and make everybody worse, right? We know that from price ceilings and floors and blah, blah, blah. All right, so there, all you had to say was a tariff of 0 or no tariff, right? And that would have been better than the situation when, and it doesn't look beautiful if you are really thinking about it and you want to say, well, wait a second, if they are getting $4, then doesn't their producer surplus increase? You got to remember that they're kicking back $2 from every $4 sale they make to the government. So they'd be better off here, and that would be the best for both producers and consumers, right? That's a little bit of a tricky one, but now we'll be ready for it, all right? And we'll be ready for everything because we're going to keep doing this for about like 20-something more days, and we're going to hand the College Boards but hopefully, if you guys do what you need to do. All right, I'm going to pause. Again, I'm going to just put up the numbers as far as types of questions over the last 8-9 years. I'm going to pick up that package off of the stoop before it gets rained on, and I'll see you in a second. Okay, so last thing for today. First of all, obviously UPS has changed their policy. Not that I have any place else to go, but ordered the wife a Mother's Day present. They said somebody must be home to sign for it. Right? So I've been waiting around, and not doing the few other things that I could do out of the house, waiting around to be able to sign for it. But I guess Corona's different, man. You don't have to sign for it during Corona because they just ring the bell and run away and don't want to see nobody. All right, so here's the last thing for today. This is a breakdown of the types of questions from the free response questions from 2012 until last year, 2019. Now, this is not exact because every question's got different elements and different parts, but big picture, grand scheme, ballpark, whatever you want to say. Game theory were four of them. Always either second or third question, right, which is the shorter, less difficult ones, however you want to say it, all right? It's come up four times, but game theory is a nice one because game theory is very straight up, straightforward. It's a payoff matrix. It's about dominant strategy and Nash equilibrium and, could anybody make themselves better off? What's the best industrial output decision, things like that, or the cooperative solution, I should say. All right. I just got a feeling. I got a feeling this is a year we're gonna get one of those. Make sure you know your game theory. If you do, we should really knock it out of the park, man. It's come up four times. Marginal analysis 5 times, and that one's a little more all over the place. It could be like one of the ones we just did. It could be more of, because remember, marginal analysis is there's a lot that falls under that. It could be productive or production decisions where you're talking about the marginal product of labor or the marginal product of some kind of input, right? How much should you pay that last unit of labor, or how much should you pay for that last unit of steel, or whatever it might be. At the end of the day, it's all the same. It is whether it's the consumer, like we just did with Teresa and her cars and bagels, or it's the person hiring labor or making pizzas. Whatever you're doing, you want to do whatever gives you the greatest benefit until your benefit is either equal to your cost, right, or still greater than, right? Your benefit might be units produced. Your benefit might be utility from purchasing, right? But either way, keep doing whatever you're doing until the cost is equal to the benefit, or still greater. I'm sorry, or still your benefit is still greater than your cost. Then you went too far. That goes for how high to turn up your music, how many episodes to binge watch, how many cups of instant mac and cheese to eat, how many workers to employ, how many hours to keep the shop open. All right, as long as the benefit is greater to or equal to the cost, keep doing it. All right, but we're going to do some more of those, because I feel like that's something that could be a little tricky and maybe we haven't focused enough on, and it does come up. More importantly, though, shifts, taxes, ceilings, and floors. Now, again, this year's different, and some of these involved sketches, which you're not going to have to worry about this year. But again, I'm very confident that you're going to need to either sketch something out on the side on your own, or at least be able to visualize what's going on, as far as shifting of demand and supply curves, how taxes will affect things, what will happen, or identifying areas before a tax, before a price floor or ceiling is implemented, after a price ceiling or floor is implemented, things like that. And the big one, obviously, I've told you this all year, is your market structure sketches. Again, this year you're not going to have to sketch one on your own, but there have been plenty throughout the last however many years where they give you one and they just ask you for identifying this monopolist's optimal output, if they were regulated for a fair return, if they were regulated for allocated efficiency, if they were regulated where they're going to continue to operate and make a profit, but not as much profit as they could have, and things like that. All right, so we're going to continue to work our way through it. I think everything we're going to do hits all of the things you guys requested on that one assignment, where I asked you what you wanted to focus on. A big, I'm not sure if it's in this book or another book, about what you guys requested. No, it's not. This is about notes on crummy research presentations. But a lot of you said taxes. A lot of you said supply and demand. I thought was one of the easier things, but whatever. We'll go back over it. Taxes, elasticity, right, which we kind of just did a little bit of. I think those are the two big winners. And some people want to go back and do comparative advantage, which nowhere on here because I haven't seen it in on any of the free response questions from the last 8 or 9 years. Doesn't hurt. It's simple. We'll go over that too. But these are the more important things to worry about. Make sure you can do game theory. Make sure you're good with marginal analysis. The shifting of curves, the impact of taxes and ceilings and floors, government regulation, and even though you don't have to sketch them, make sure you can tell if you look at one, that's got to be perfect competition, that's got to be monopolistic competition in the long run equilibrium, that has to be a monopoly. That could be a monopoly or monopolistic competition, but since they told me this, I know it's got to be monopolistic competition, things like that. All right, so this is honestly my 4th attempt at this today. I'm going to watch it now and cross my fingers and hope it came out all right. And as soon as I do that, I will post it. And I'm going to then sit down and go through these other part 2s, and I'll assign something from the previous part 2s for tomorrow. But I'll give you some time to watch this and to complete that. So it'll probably be, I would assume I'll give you till Friday on it. And like we've been doing, give you the weekend to relax and recharge batteries and all that. All right, so I'm pretty sure I mentioned this earlier in the video. I can't remember 37 minutes ago. But if you haven't, please let me know that you were successfully able to complete the demo. And that's it, man. Stay healthy and let me know if I can help you with anything and, whatever. All right? Be good.